never had like a home where I grew up.
Why was that?
Because me and my mom used to move around a lot. My mom was in a very bad situation where we had to just keep moving.
Where was your dad in the picture?
My dad died when I was 7.
KiDi, when you found out that you were going to be a father, how did it make you feel?
Scared. They called me, family meeting. It was like, Nana, who be in school? Abrabone be serious.
That's right.
Also,
That's right.
are you sure the music is what you can do to one day put food on the table for your family? That's a very valid concern.
When you got the first invitation to get a record deal, you didn't think about the numbers involved?
I didn't care about the money aspect of it.
Free. Conversation about masters of the record. You own all of masters?
Not all of it.
What decisions would you have made differently?
I wish I read the fine prints, but I didn't. The music industry is a wild, wild place. I'm telling you for a fact that if I didn't have the passion for what I'm doing, year 5, I would have hung my mic and called it a day.
Most of my audience here know that this conversation would not require an introduction. So I'll just start because I'm having a conversation with KiDi, who is an Afrobeat artist. I've done a lot of research, but I just wanted to take its own shape. Based on my research, there's something I didn't really see. I want to explore your childhood a bit. You know, growing up as a young boy, I want to explore that a bit. How was that growing up? How were you growing up?
My childhood is kind of very big in a way because I grew up everywhere and nowhere. I grew up moving around a lot. You know, I never stayed anywhere long enough to have friends. You know, we are here for a while, something happens, we have to move. Before you even make friends with the people around neighborhood, we have to move. I never had like a home where I grew up, you know. So I was the guy that I'm always here, there. I grew up here. There's people in the park playing football. I go and I'm the outsider who is trying to play the football with them. I go to the game center and there are friends and I'm the outsider who is trying to play with them. I was always the outsider who is trying to play with people because I never had like a home.
Why was that?
Because me and my mom just used to move around a lot. My mom was in a very bad situation where we had to just keep moving. You know, so even for school, I was going to school in St. Anthony's. And then we had to move, so I had to change schools to Great Lamte Mills. And then I had to move again, and so I had to come back to St. Anthony's, where I missed 2 important years of growing up with my friends. So I left the school, and I came back, and all my friends that I had, I became a stranger to them, because they're looking at me like, yeah, we're your friends, but you left and came, and we formed our bonds, and you're coming at Form 3 to come and write BC with us, and there's still that, you know, gap, you know. So,
what job did mom do?
My mom is a woman of many talents. Like, she's ventured into like different kinds of businesses. She's gone to cake school. She knows that. My mom is literally people say it all the time. My mom is the best cook in the world. But my mom is undoubtedly, undisputedly the best cook in the world. She makes the best food. Goat stew, soup, anything, name it. Mm-hmm. So my mom has ventured into hairdressing. She's ventured into making pastries, the best pastries you ever taste. She's ventured into like cooking, that's where she lasted the most. She's ventured into cooking. She used to do for funerals, for weddings, for parties, you know, even corporate world where there are lunch breaks, what they have to eat. My mom used to make all of that. So, yeah.
So then why did she kept moving, you know, from one place to the other?
I don't know if she would be comfortable with me talking about the details of that, but she was in a marriage that didn't work out, So as a stepchild in her marriage, she always thought about me and my little brothers.
Where was your dad in the picture?
My dad died when I was 7. My dad, I have a lot of the source that I have. I get some from my mom, but I have a lot of the source that I have is from my dad. He died at a very, very, very young age, before I could even form the thoughts to appreciate what fatherhood looked like, So it's later in life that I began to think back, wow, I would have loved my dad to be here for this. I would have loved to learn this and that from my dad, but he was gone too soon.
Like at that young age, thinking back, what's your recollection of him as a father?
And that's the sad part, because I was a very stubborn child. So my early memories of my dad was me just being a stubborn child and being punished.
So you remember him as a strict dad?
Yes. Also, I remember him as a strict dad, but I also remember him in the light of when he wasn't dealing with me and just enjoying life. My dad loved life. When we say Opa Brabo Opa enjoyment, my dad was one of them. Like, he was the life of the party. He was the one keeping the glue to the family, like his family. He was the one always organizing things for the family to come together. My dad was that guy.
You're moving from one place to the other, not so settled, and you haven't really found friends, right, as a kid. Daddy's not around. But how was your relationship with your other siblings on the other side?
So one thing people don't know about me is, on my dad's side, I had 4 siblings. My big sister was the first. My big brother was the second. I was the third. And then there was a one behind me. On my mom's side, I was the first of 3 boys.
Okay.
So, mind you, in all of this moving around with my mom going from here to here, I had 2 younger brothers who, in my mom's matrimonial home, they were toddlers. They were 2 years, 1 year, 3 years, 2 years. And because of what my mom was going through at that time, I kind of had to play a part-time role of a mom. So I tell my little brothers, they are grown now, but I tell them, you guys, when you were kids, I used to bath you. I used to change your diapers. I used to feed you. They had these rollies that I used to roll them around till they fell asleep. Because mom at that time was fighting demons that I had to step in and, be a mother and a father at that time. So, yeah.
But like all those things, right? Looking back, how does it make you feel?
Not good, but at the same time, I'm blessed to have gone through those experiences, because as a child, I just wanted to be a child. I just wanted to enjoy childhood. I just wanted to go out and play with my friends, go to the game center and play Konami and Sega and, Mortal Kombat. I just wanted to do all of those things. But I recognized very early on what my reality was, and I had to step in and do what needed to be done to support my mother.
I can relate with some of the things you're saying, but it's also a huge burden, especially on a kid.
That's why I said I wanted to be a child, but my reality was different, and I accepted that very early on.
Did you try to fight it?
I didn't know what fighting looked like.
Is that the reason why you were a bit stubborn as a kid?
It could be. Psychologically, if you go into the depths of it right now, you probably this led to this, and this made you act this way, and this made you act this way. But in that moment, I didn't even understand what it looked like to fight. I didn't know what it looked like to go against what the reality was. I just accepted my reality, and I dealt with what life gave me,
Now, you have gone through this. Mom has been a great support for yourself. But I want to now just explore the aspirations you have as a kid. Now, we're still staying in, the young KiDi, what you wanted to become, what life meant to you growing up.
It's crazy that I am actually the person that I am today, because my worldview at a very early age was boxed into my reality.
Huh.
it's such an amazing phenomenon to think of the fact that I've become the man that I am, where I'm one of the most open-minded people you ever meet. I'm one of the most easygoing people you ever meet.
But where did you develop that?
I don't know. I wish I knew. I wish I had answers for that, but I don't know. Maybe I have to do a deep triple platinum deep dive into my psyche to understand where the switch came. But as it stands now, I have no idea.
So you had no aspirations, you had no dreams, you didn't want to become anything?
No. I mean, I did want to become stuff.
All right.
I've wanted to become everything based on the fact that I move here, do this. I was doing everything. So I've always been that kid in school. One of the things that made me weird is that I survived everywhere. If you put me in taekwondo, I will beat your black masters. If you put me in football, I will survive. If you put me in athletics, I will survive. Art, painting, I used to be one of the best. I used to paint, draw, play football, run, sing, rap. Put me anywhere in the world, anywhere in life, I'll come out better than the people that are supposed to be the bosses there. That's why I don't always write off my early realities, because as much as they had the negatives,
They shaped you.
it shaped me.
But that's a great mindset to have. Knowing that, once you train yourself, you can get it done.
It's perspective.
Yeah, I think there was even an interview of you where I was watching it, and you said that when you first got into the studio with Lynx, you couldn't play beat.
Yeah.
And you taught yourself how to make that.
Yeah.
That's an incredible way to live life.
Yeah.
Knowing that you don't always have to box yourself in a place and, see a bigger view of this world.
My outlook on the world, I don't like to say this because people interpret it as I think I'm better than. I don't think I'm better than anybody. But my perspective and my outlook on life, I feel, is quite different from a lot of people around me. What you are looking at, we can all be looking at the same thing, but I see something different. We are looking at this thing lying there. We're looking at, I'm looking at, wow, the hues of the blue and how it dissolves into a lighter blue. Like, I'm quite different in my mind.
And you can't pinpoint how you developed that.
No. It's not like I was well traveled to have exposure. I didn't have. My first time I ever traveled way later in life. So all this time I hadn't gone anywhere. I didn't even have a passport. But something in me, something in my experiences, something in my interaction with different people with different backgrounds and different walks of life kind of shaped me into who I am.
So did you want to go through the traditional, educational path to become a doctor, lawyer, the regular stuff that we hear in homes?
When we were talking earlier, I spoke about I wanted to be different things. There was a point in my life I wanted to be a pilot. I don't remember the movie I watched, but I watched a movie, and the way the pilots were controlling the planes was so fascinating to me. I was like, wow, I wanted to be in the air, and then the bomb is coming in and I just swerve, and then it's just nice to me.
Man, you playing game.
I was like, ooh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, you see the way they're so cool, maneuvering the planes and stuff.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a model at some point. I wanted to be an artist, not a musician, but an artist drawing, because I had a phase in my life where the best gift you could give me at that phase in my life was a sketchbook. I remember my uncle used to always buy me sketchbooks because I loved painting.
KiDi, how important is it for young people to know that this is the mindset of growth? This, what you just described, it's interestingly, it is what I have identified in a lot of people who do well in life. Either being multi-skilled or allowing yourself to grow. How important do you think it is for young people to know that?
Based on where we're from in the world, right? We don't have the privilege of a lot of people identifying very, very early on in life what their passion is. It might be hard to hear, but where we're from, when you come into this world, you're already behind. You're behind minus 20. So you're now struggling, fighting to build to ground zero, where you start life from ground zero. A lot of people don't even make it to ground zero to start life. A A lot of people struggle their entire life and still operate in the negatives. It's unfortunate where we come from in the world. But my mindset about life is always about, okay, so this is the problem. This is the situation. Now what? How do we overcome that? So you know that you want to become this. But at age 3, your experience of life is different from what you experience at age 7. It's different from what you experience at age 10. It's different from the friends you meet at age 12, 13. You keep growing, you keep building your mind, you keep growing yourself, and you find different, interests. My son, that's one thing I've learned to allow him to be from. He's only 9 years, but in the 9 years that he's lived, he's found different passions, and I'm always there to support every passion he finds. He's one of the best, I'm telling you, at age 9, he's one of the best artists I've ever seen.
We couldn't have done this podcast without you, our people in the community, everyone that watches us every single week. So we ask that you show up at the KNUST Great Hall for Connected Minds Live. We are not doing any in Accra, and it's not going to be shown on a live link. So you have to be there, get involved in the community. I'd love to see you there. Oben Dako, Aisha, Eko Eshon, Diane Kufo, Sami, Ejay. We're expecting about 1,600 people to be under one roof. So if you watch this, I'd love to see you there. Introduce yourself when you show up.
Join the biggest gathering of entrepreneurs and business owners in Ghana. Live in Kumasi, KNUST Great Hall on the 9th of September 2026. Secure your spot now on connectedmindslive.com. Connected Minds Live. Think big, build bigger.
At age 9, he's able to create his own comics, like characters, dialogue, storyline, plots. He's formed a brand for himself that I don't want to name the brand now, but he has a brand that he calls himself. At age 9, he's wanted to play piano. He's wanted to sing. He's wanted to rap. He's wanted to do so. Just 9 years old.
And every step of the way, you are okay with that.
I wish I had that.
You wish.
I wish I had somebody to support me in all the various crazy ideas I had growing. I wanted to be this, I wanted to be that, I didn't have that. So I let him be. Because eventually, guess what? He will find that one thing that he's 150% clear on that he wants to do. But until then, allow their brains to roam free and explore and experience this and experience that and settle somewhere eventually. Because you don't want to raise a kid that operates on what if. What if I was actually meant to be a pianist? What if I was actually meant to be an artist? What if there will be no what ifs because you allow him to explore everything fully?
Also, the problem a lot of people face when it comes to making decisions is the fact that there are too many choices.
Yeah.
So this is on the flip side of what you're saying. If there were, golden mics, diamond mics, I'm sure you would have picked one of
whatever it is,
because it's option. But now it's just black mics that we have to use. So you use that and then you deal with it. I think my struggle is really simple to do with that. Sometimes people, and you don't have to agree, people must be restricted a bit. Because I remember the times when there are a few things I was doing as a kid, and my father would always question those things. And anytime he questioned it, it made me think. So then I think about it, and I'm like, well, being a pharmacist is probably the best decision I ever made in my life. But I made that decision because of them, and it's helped me. But there's also somebody who would say, well, my father told me to go and do sociology.
And then it wasn't the thing I wanted to do.
Right, so
in every conversation, there's always those...
There you go.
Everything like...
There you go.
And we're humans. So we never really know what the right side of the line is until time tells us what it is.
But I mean, I say that, the choices we make, the decisions we make, it's the outcome of those things are random. And that you can't say because you made this...
It ended in this.
The outcome is what determines whether it was good or not.
That's why I always make a joke with my female friends when they ask me, women have a way of like, if I was a worm, would you still love me? And I ask them, in an alternative universe, I don't know how I would have reacted to you being a worm. So any answer I give you is basically me trying to say something you want to hear.
Yeah.
We do not know what a different decision would have.
Exactly.
We never know.
Exactly.
Because we're humans. We never know that. If maybe you became this, you would have. We can't. We just say that because we as humans want to say something to make us sound smart, but we never actually know for real.
Yeah. Let's then explore this then, especially for you, the decision to go into music, because you wanted to do many things, right? And you wish you could, but then why music?
Why music?
Why did you settle at that?
This will be uncomfortable to hear to some people because it will trigger certain memories. For a lot of men who end up getting married, I have a lot of elderly friends. I have people who one thing I need to tell you guys, I'm a very curious person. I love to ask questions. I love to know. So I've asked people, why did you marry this woman? Because at the time before the marriage, you probably had like some 2 or 3 girls that were also very viable. They qualified for the position of being your wife. But why did you end up with this one? And they always said everybody had their own advantages that they brought to the table. They also always had their flaws. But I settled on this one because she was the one that in any kind of situation, they were the first to come to my mind. They were the first I wanted to run to tell them the bad news, the good news, the great news, the ugly news. They were always, there's a lot of men might never accept this, but before you get married, there's always like, you have some other ones that's it's a thing. Like you might accept or not, you might agree or not.
Right. Even the women do, right?
Even the women, it's not just a man
It's
thing.
not just a man thing, yeah.
Women also have option and obviously eventually decide on this is the one I think I want to do life with. It's because even though all of them have the things that you love, there is one about one of them that ends up overpowering the rest. I was an athlete in high school. And if I say I was an athlete, I wasn't just one of those that was like part of the team. I was a great athlete. Like if you speak to all my friends on my crack academy, they will tell you about Eduardo. When we go to Intako, into houses, when I step on the tracks, I wasn't to be played with. I was a top level athlete. So one would have thought, if you were that good in athletics, why didn't you just toe that path?
Yeah.
I used to paint. I was very good at it at even that age. So I feel like by now, if I continued, I probably would have been, But music, again, rewind back to my childhood, rewind back to my reality growing up. Music was always that one friend. Even in those moments, even in the uncertainties of growing up, even in the harshness of my childhood, I could always run to music. I could always, no matter what's going on at home. I remember the first the first ever music DVD I ever had, because my stepbrother brought home a DVD pack that had a Jennifer Lopez and Ricky Martin, mashup that I would put in the DVD. I didn't even know who Jennifer Lopez was. I didn't know who Ricky Martin was. But in the turmoil of the house and all the noise and the friction, I'll go into the hall and slip in that DVD. And in those 20 minutes, I was lost. I did not care about anything happening outside of the hall. Or listening to Jennifer Lopez and Ricky Martin. And I didn't know who these people were, but I was so encapsulated in the music. And these DVDs were live performances.
Right.
So it wasn't just I was listening to some music. I was watching them in their elements, performing to a crowd. I was like, wow. I never felt that way with athletics.
I see.
Never felt that way with painting. I never felt that way with all the numerous talents that I had. So in high school, my mom would tell me, It was always that thing. Oh, you there? You know what? Boy, where school? Be school now. Call be school. It means like finish the school. When you finish the school, you can focus on anything you want to finish. I went to uni. So I was like, oh, be uni now. I'm like, Mom, if I'm supposed to put all these talents aside and finish school, by the time I finish school, I'll pass the time that I needed to build on to become what I wanted to become. So music was just that one thing that in the darkest of times I could always run to.
I was asking you a question earlier on. That for many people that go into music, some people, they're talented and they love the music. Other people, it's an escape. They need some money and they are looking at that as, this is how I'm going to be able to make money. One of the cases is me. But your case, what was it?
Even though we grew up in like moving about and not having much and not ever having a home, it would totally make sense for me to go into music, to get money, to be able to take care of my mom and take care of her situation. But it never was that. It never was like, what can I do to get money? I never even thought about money. Even though we didn't have it, it was never a thing I was thinking like, I need money. But it was just a passion. Like, one of the places me and my mom lived in, remember we had this very rickety DVD player. And I found these speakers in some trash, right? And I had also this Discman that I got from one of the places that we lived, and somebody gifted it to me. And I found a way to bring it, tape wires, and ruin like an earpiece I had. You know the earpiece, the plug, the pin that you put in. I tore it and put wires together, put it in a speaker that was rickety, that was on the trash, just so I could be able to hear music. When the lights were out, it didn't need electricity. All I needed was batteries. So when the lights were out, I didn't care about light off. I put the wires together, mend them, and put them. And I used to have this Westlife cassettes.
An empty street.
An empty house, a hole inside my heart. I was like, ooh, ECG can take the lights for 1 week. I don't care. I have my music. The speakers are working. The batteries are dying. I asked my mom, please give me some money. I want to go and buy new batteries. Like, my life was very simple. I did not care about money. I did not care about, I want this, I want that, I want that. Did I have music to listen to? I'm good.
I see.
Do we have food? Sometimes no, but sometimes yes. I'm okay. So going into music, finally, was never about I'm trying to make a fast living or I'm trying to get a quick way to make money.
So, if I forward track you a bit, when you got the first invitation to get a record deal, or so, you didn't think about the numbers involved?
I didn't think about nothing. I didn't care about nothing. I didn't care about the money aspect of it. I didn't care about what I'm getting from it.
Why?
My mind was not exposed to that.
Like, look,
now I know.
Right, okay.
But in that moment, my build up into wanting to do music, my build up into my love for music, my build up into wanting to share my talent with the world, my mind was not exposed to the fine prints.
How old were you at the time?
21, 22.
So right. So let's say a 21-year-old
yeah,
gets approached or get poached, whatever the means was. Walk into a studio, amazing talent, wants to be signed, gets put a contract in front of them. And look, before I say anything, there were two of us in London. There's a company called A2 Records. I still have that contract in my house today. When I went solo from my music group, Vibe Squad, they wanted to sign. And there were two of us, myself and a guy called Dizzy VC. He signed a contract. At the time, I was third year university. And I got a contract. And guess the first thing I looked at? The money.
Yeah.
And then I
always
looked
the first thing you look at.
Right? And I looked at the contract. And then I underlined so many things. To date, I still didn't sign the contract because it didn't make sense to me. I don't know. Maybe my makeup was just a bit different. But it's quite shocking that at that time, you didn't look at it? Because were you not paying for studio sessions?
So let me give you like a little backstory. The build up to me meeting Richie, Lynx, and all the people responsible for getting me up the ladder. I used to make covers, right? I used to make covers of people's songs. And I never went through the process of having to pay for a studio.
Free.
I just had people who always heard me and just instantly believed in me. I remember I've never mentioned his name in any interview, but today I'll mention his name. Senna Baita. We used to be in University of Ghana together.
Okay.
We used to have he happened to have studio equipment and stuff. He was like, oh, he was rich, he had a home, like a studio setup. Like, come, you want to record? Oh, come. Record. So I've never had to go through the process of, hey, I'm looking for money to go and pay for studio session. So it never was a thing in my mind. In life, you're only exposed to what your reality is. So my reality was people were always ready to offer help to me because anytime they heard me sing, they're like,
Talent.
this is something I want to be part of.
Yeah.
So they were always like, so going into the conversation, getting signed, it never was a thing in my mind of how I'd struggled to pay studio sessions and how I'd struggled to get money. Like I said, money, even though I had none, it was still never a thing in my mind.
Today, what decisions would you have made differently?
I would have not been an overexcited young man who wanted to just make music for the passion, because no matter how much passion you have, it's show business. There's a business aspect of it. And yes, you can make all the music, make all the love songs, make the world dance. But if you don't read the fine prints, you work your whole life and then you realize that you've worked, but there's nothing to show for it.
Conversation about masters of the record. You own all of masters?
Not all of it. Like I said, to go into detail about this conversation, we'd have to dive deep. So I'll leave it at here. I wish I read the fine prints, but I didn't. So I'll deal with the consequences of not reading the fine prints.
I'm sure a lot of kids, get into your DM, talented kids. You get to hear one of them, and he's so talented, and you're like, oh, I really want to help this kid. Like, what are you going to tell him about record labels and how to deal with management?
Read the fine prints. It's such a powerful one-line sentence that you need, because the music industry is a wild, wild place. I'm telling you for a fact that if I didn't have the passion for what I'm doing, year 5, I would have hung my mic and called it a day. Because sometimes you go in the deepest and deepest of lows that you begin to ask yourself questions. Is all of this even worth it? Like, all this late nights and being on sets for 12 hours and people insulting you and coming on. Is it even worth what you're even getting at the end of it? It's not. But guess what is worth? The passion. I have so much passion that now I balance it with the business, because it's very important. You need to be able to survive and keep doing what you're doing. You have to keep putting the money back into your business. But I always tell them, no matter how hungry you are, and in my one, I wasn't hungry. I was hungry, but I didn't go into it because I was hungry. I went into it because I was just a kid that loved music. I just wanted to sing. I did not care what I sang.
Man, you're very diplomatic and political in your statements about this. And I really appreciate it.
I actually do not wish to be diplomatic and political. But for this specific conversation, I recognize that there's depths and depths and depths and depths of it that we will need an actual conversation based on this to delve deeper into it. So I don't want to have to say it and then leave it shallow for interpretation.
Right.
Yeah.
I also appreciate the fact that you recognize that regardless of what happened, the path you took through is what has made you who you are today. And I hear that in every conversation you have about management. I hear that. And that's the appreciative part of you.
I'm super. I can't even emphasize how much super I mean, but I'm super grateful for the opportunities. One thing, when I was growing up, there was one thing that I heard a lot, that as an adult that has a mind of my own, I've realized it's false. They say something, no cranny bakupe, means the truth is only one, but that's false. Because as an adult, one thing I've come to learn is that 2 things can be true. Even 3 things can be true. So a situation might be in front of us on the table where you are obviously seeing it's a very negative situation, but 2 things can be true. It's a negative situation, but that situation also helped. Like when we were speaking about my childhood, I told you about how somebody would listen to all of this and say, "Hey, what bro?" But I recognize that. It's not like I neglect that part of it. I recognize that it's a negative situation, but 2 things can be true.
Right.
It's also a situation that has shaped the person
you
that
are.
I've become.
Yeah. Man, anytime I speak to artists about this money stuff, because I even heard conversation where artists are selling their catalogs. There's so many things they don't own masters. Anytime I get myself involved in conversations like that, for me, there's always a thought that there is somebody that is always trying to use somebody.
That's something you're going to have to learn the difficult way in the industry.
Yeah.
Everybody's using everybody. But in a situation where you're in an industry where this is using this and this is using that, I always tell, like, when I get the chance to have conversations with people that are budding and coming up, I tell them one of the best things you're going to have is leverage. Because leverage is what allows people to not be used. It's not just a music thing. In any industry, leverage. And leverage shows up in so many different ways. Like when you know what you have, when you know who you are, when you know what you are, when you know what you bring to the table, when you go into any round table, when you walk into any room, nobody can bully you. They aim to bully you because that's just what corporate is. Corporate is just set up in a way that they're supposed to get more than you. But when you're able to recognize who you are, what you bring, your value, it's very difficult to be bullied.
Like also, KiDi, you spent many years, under record labels.
Yeah.
But I'm sure maybe after year 2, 3, you kind of started realizing certain things. Why did you then stay in there for so long?
So very early on in the record label, every year taught me something, And a lot of the things I learned I probably started learning them from year 4, 5. I learned very early on that I was a man of my own. I had my own values. I had my own vision. I had my own thoughts. I had my own how I wanted life to be. But I was working with people who were amazing at what they did.
Right.
So what I had to do was I recognized that, yes, this is me and how I want to be But so far as I'm here, I recognize I'm working with people who are also very good at what they do. So the mental strength to take a backseat and allow them to do what they are great at. Because I know eventually there will be a time where the student becomes a master.
That's right.
And when a student becomes a master, you need everything you learned as a student. And these people are great at something that you are going to need when you become a master. You have to humble yourself. There was a lot of friction. There was a lot of different ideologies and different principles and different ways of things being done. But it was such a battle to sometimes just hold yourself back. Understand, the people you're working with, they are really good at what they do. So allow them to do them. And just learn from what they're doing. Learn. There is no expiration to where you're going to go and how you're going to be. It's not like you need to be this now. Not 5 years, learn. The 10 years, learn. Because eventually the bird is going to develop wings. You're going to have to fly. You're going to have to know altitude of wind and how to balance your wings and how to go this and how to do that and how to do that. But you only know that if you're able to humble yourself to learn in the time that it was time for learning. If you grow wings too quickly, you will fly, all right. But you hit a plane as a bird. You go into the Bermuda Triangle and you will be drowned. So there's a lot of things I had to learn. Based on the conversation, you might learn a lot of things I learned, but I learned a lot. I'm a student of life. I don't stop learning.
I think these days it's not even exciting anymore for artists to sign label contracts. I think a lot of artists are just doing their own thing. The realization is that they make more if they do it themselves. So I don't know. Maybe that path is what a lot of these young people are taking. Now, after you realize that maybe you must have lost a lot of money simply by being part of a label individually. But after you've done all the learning, what have you done different? Like, what are you doing different for your craft, for the bass side of the music?
You know how, like, earlier I was emphasizing about reading the fine print?
Yeah.
Now, me and my lawyer, we spent 4 hours on a call. And when I say 4 hours, we're going through every single line in the contract. Even the ones that my brain is not developed enough to understand what the legal terms mean, I'll ask for explanation because I want to know what I'm committing to. So, okay, so this is what I'm doing. Maybe it might not favor me now, but this is the long-term plan of what you're agreeing to. I wish I understood this 10 years ago. I wish I had that mindset 10 years ago. When I was signing my first contract, I remember my first ever contract, I was like, I was over the moon. I mean, I knew as a young kid that somebody has to go through the contract for you. So my big brother, I hit him up. It's like, bro, I beg you, Links won't sign me. So this be the contracts. Go through for it. My brother is not a lawyer. He's a marketer. Amazing marketer. But he's not a lawyer. But I trusted that based on his knowledge in marketing and working in the marketing field, at that time, so he also brought his expertise, read through it, like, okay, this changed, but he's not a lawyer to go through like the finest prints of legal terms.
Yeah.
So we still found ourselves wanting in certain areas. But now, like you said, you only live to learn.
You only live to learn. I said this before, that regardless of how talented a person is in any field, they only really get to make and sustain money if the talent matches up with business. Right? Well, otherwise, then you're just a talented person,
And that's not enough.
It's not enough. I mean, it's not sustainable for the long term. And my worry for a lot of creatives and artists and stuff is really about the future of the work, because I think that's the most important thing. A time is going to come where you might not be able to stand even at the O2 and perform. The crowd may be there, but you don't have the energy to. And that's where these sort of conversations, become important. So somebody said I should ask you this question. Do you plan to invest beyond the music?
Yes. One thing that people need to understand about me, per how you look at it, based on how you look at it, the childhood that I had, the development that I had, the process of the learning that I had, however harsh it may have seemed, the lows, the ups, the grace, their amazing song, the music and the videos and the performances and the shows. Even though I had nothing growing up, I've always known and seen and wanted the beauty of life. Even though I didn't know what that meant, I've always wanted to live an opulent life. I watch Game of Thrones and I watch The Last Kingdom and I watch all these medieval shows and even now Succession. And I know what wealth looks like. I know the problems it comes with, but I know the ease and access it gives you in the world. And I've always, even though it's not at the forefront, like I'm chasing wealth, I know at the end of the day, I wanted to live a life that was comfortable for my kids, for my mom, my family, for everybody around me that works with me, works for me, works under me, I've always wanted everybody to be comfortable. It still comes from me being responsible for everybody.
Yeah.
But I want everybody who has any plug attached to KiDi to find a benefit for that plug attached to KiDi. And it means I know that I have to make certain moves. I have to do certain things to achieve that.
Yeah.
And if you read books of wealthy people, world leaders, and everybody who has attained certain things in life, they never have one stream of income. I know that I'll get there. But to get there, I'm also, again, to take a detour. And this has been a problem I've had with a lot of labels and collaborations I've done in the music industry. A lot of people are in a hurry to get to their end. They're in a hurry to, you have to do this for us to make money. You have to do this for us to make money. I'm like, no. I am very, very, very particular because you cannot, life is such a way that no matter how smart you think you are, no matter how wise you think you are, you will never, I say this again, you will never make it if you jump from step 1 to 6. You need to go through the motions, no matter how they look like. You have to go from step 1 to step 2 because there's a lesson in step 2 that if you don't learn and you think you are going to steps, you will come. It's like when you are playing Ludo, the back there is snake. Is it a snake? When you learn a snake, it will bring you back. Yeah. If you in a hurry, Charlie, Drake said on his new album, Iceman, a lot of people want to get rich quick and get to the end and get to the pinnacle. They don't want to go through the work of it. It's a thing that a lot of young people need to understand. I'm ready, no matter what it looks like. The struggle. I have made up my mind. I've understood the principles of life that you need to go through the stages one at a time.
Man, I was speaking to an artist who's a very good friend of mine. We've been friends for about 13 years. And he said, at the time, when I was at the height of my career, there were too many voices in my ears. So there were certain decisions I could not make. Because this person says that, this person says that. And he was talking about his finances, right? Some of the things he wanted to put in place. He said, look, yeah, it was all well and good. I could have listened to you. I could have listened to that person, but just too many people talking. And then I've got to go shows. I've got to create music. Do you guys feel that sometimes?
Yeah. There's never been a time in my life where there wasn't too many voices in my ears. Ever. But again, I like that we started the conversation where we started because it gives me the leeway to always refer to that early part of my life. I don't know what about that part of my life made me who I am. And this is something that I've recognized in my son that I always speak with immense pride about. Anytime I thought about what my kids were going to look like, that was one of the qualities that I always projected for them, that they're going to have a mind of their own. Every time in my prayers, I thank God for giving me that because I've always had a mind of my own. I don't care what everybody is saying. If everybody says this cup is black, and to me, I think it's blue, you will not convince me it is black. So yes, there's never been a point in my life where there wasn't voices. But I'll listen. I'll listen to, oh, you said this, oh, you said this. But at the end of the day, when I go back to my bed,
You make the final decision.
I make the final decision based on me, based on my reality, based on my circumstance, based on what I want, based on where I'm trying to go. Because one thing I've learned is Michael Jackson's method with his father, Joe Jackson, it worked for him. It doesn't mean if Joe Jackson had probably another kid called Craig Jackson, it would have worked the same way. Everybody's formula is different. Everybody's timeline is different. People project to you what they think they have done and it's worked for them. So you too, you have to do that. No. Your life is different. Your path is different. Your circumstance is different. Your vision is different. I've always thanked God for the power to have a mind of my own, because you have no idea how much of a superpower that is. If everybody says, and even when they are roasting people or having like, a different mindset, I'll stick to mine. I'll defend it. You can hate me if you want. But I believe this. I believe this table is brown. You can bring all the ideologies in the world to prove to me that it's not. I'm open to listening, and I'll go back and think about what you've said. But if I think and it's not making sense to what I want to do,
you're not going to take that.
No. Doesn't mean I don't listen. Like I said, I'm one of the easiest people you meet. I'm very rational. I have a team now that I can go into the meeting and then I'm very set on something I want to do. Very set, based on my projections and based on my analogies and based on... Or somebody in the team can come and hit me up and say, here's a perspective you haven't thought about. This, that. I'll go back and listen. It's like, I'll call and I was like, you know what? I'm humble enough to let you know that I was very set in this thing I wanted to do. But the perspective you gave me wasn't one I thought about. It makes sense to what I want to do.
So I'm going to take that.
Yeah. Or the perspective you gave me, I've heard it, but I still believe that this thing, I feel in my bones, I feel in my spirit, this is what needs to be done. I'm always grateful to God. And I'm happier even knowing that my son has that. He has a mind of his own.
I guess this is a great opportunity to actually ask you this question. KiDi, when you found out that you were going to be a father, how did it make you feel?
Scared. Knowing what you know about my background, my childhood growing up, I probably had nothing to my name. I was in uni, my final year in uni. I was scared. I was shaking. I was like, what do I do? How do I navigate this? Because this is new. This wasn't in my plans in the next 5 years. But I've always been, because of how I've been brought up, always been ready to accept what the world threw at me. And I was always going to deal with it. Always. I was always going to find a way. I am Mr. Find a Way.
But how did it affect your education at the time?
It did affect, because I had resits. It was a thing that was heavy on my thoughts. I was trying to... I wasn't even KiDi then. I was now trying to figure out what my sound was going to be.
What were you scared about?
How to raise a child. I was still even raising myself. I was still trying to figure out my place in the world. I was still trying to find my place in the world. So to come and add another human to that equation was such a scary concept. But one thing that kept me going, even though it came later in the thought process, was I told myself, I always find a way. No matter how difficult it was, I knew I had my family. I knew I had those people behind me that in any kind of situation, my mom was always going to show up for me. It helped me to finish my education even hard. I even took some vim to go and write my resits. I was like, hey, these resits, I have to pass.
At which point in the trimester did you find out? Late or early?
Very early, actually.
Very early.
Yeah, very early.
So were you supposed to then be there, for all the checkups and
no,
things?
I wasn't, because we're in different countries, So I wasn't able to be there until he was actually born, Yeah. That kind of takes me, I don't want us to jump the conversation, but it takes me to my first ever time in the UK. My first ever show I performed outside of Ghana was in the UK.
Right.
Ever. I didn't know the concept of international performance. It wasn't even a thing in my mind. But the first time I ever performed outside of Ghana was in the UK. And that was when I got the chance to meet my son for the first time.
And how did you then eventually get him here in Ghana?
I mean, it wasn't like a planned thing, you know. They came to visit, and then COVID happened, so they ended up just staying. And I love the concept of having him near where I could, like, you know, see him anytime I wanted to. So I welcome the idea, you know. So that, you know, yeah.
In the initial stages as a young artist, you know, coming up, where were you getting even the money to support?
That's what I think. I don't know what the alternative universe would have looked like, but that was one of the things, and many other things that put fire under me. The fire that I came with in the beginning, that everybody was like, "Where is this guy from? And where did he come from?" I needed it to work, and outside of even that, I told you it's not just that. Even that was the main thing, but family. This is a very funny story. My brother, who I was living with at that time, my big brother and his wife, you know, they were kind of worried and concerned, rightfully so, as your guardians at that time. You know, you're about to finish uni. I didn't even want to do my national service. I didn't want to do that. You know, I come from a family. My brother, he's very like, he took after my dad.
Strict.
You have to go to school. You have to, you know, that kind of, you
Yeah,
get
he's
what
a big
I'm
brother,
saying?
man. Yeah.
Go to school, do what needs to be done, do your national service, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. And I was like, I don't want to do my national service. But my brother, who is the one taking care of me, says, you have to do it. I'm like, cool. They called me, like, family meeting with my mom, and they expressed the concern. Because at that time, a week before, my brother's wife had gone to a concert at Plus 233. And she had seen legends, people that we have danced to their music growing up. And she had seen them come to perform at Plus 233. And she wasn't happy with how they looked. She wasn't happy with, wow, these are the people we grew up listening to. Why do they look like nothing has gone on well for them in their lives? It was a point of concern for her. So she was like, Nana, who be school? Abraboni be serious.
That's right.
That's
right.
Are you sure the music is what you can do to one day put food on the table for your family? That's a very valid concern. And in that moment, I felt how I felt. But now growing up and looking back at that conversation, I get it. But in that moment, I was like, music, I'm a talented boy, I can sing, you know, I'm Chris Brown, like Ghana, you know, I was like, but now it's a very, very valid concern. So they were very concerned for me.
We couldn't have done this podcast without you, our people in the community, everyone that watches us every single week. So we ask that you show up at the KNUST Great Hall for Connected Minds Live. We are not doing any in Accra, and it's not going to be shown on a live link. So you have to be there, get involved in the community. I'd love to see you there. Obendako, Aisha, Eko Eshon, Diane Kufo, Sami, Ejay. We're expecting about 1,600 people to be under one roof. So if you watch this, I'd love to see you there. Introduce yourself when you show up.
Join the biggest gathering of entrepreneurs and business owners in Ghana. Live in KUMASI, KNUST Great Hall on the 9th of September 2026. Secure your spot now on connectedmindslive.com. Connected Minds Live. Think big, build bigger.
And they told me, listen, if I'm not proud to say this, I cried. I shed real tears. It came from a point of a child who knew this was my escape in all those dark moments growing up. This was an outlet for me to voice out my concerns, my love. And now it looks like it's going to be taken away from me. So they gave me an ultimatum. We give you 1 year, maybe 1.5. You have to make this work. If after 16 to 18 months, this has not taken off, we're sorry. You have to go back to school, further your education, and get a nice job like everybody else. Sit in an office, wear a suit and tie and all of that. It's like, oh. And from me doing my national service,
Yeah.
that's why I said there's certain things in life you can only be and do by actually doing and living it. From me doing my national service, I came to understand that this is not where I want to be. I do not want to be confined behind a desk. This has nothing to do with anybody who sits behind a desk. Everybody's path is different. For some people, there's joy in their hearts when they go out in the morning, wear their suit and tie, drive and get to the office and it's amazing. It's working for you. Does not mean it works for me. For me and my narrative and my story and my chapters, my life and my vision, that was not where I wanted to be. And I learned that from doing my national service. I remember my final day in my national service when people were working hard to be retained. You know, national service, you want to be retained by the company. You want them to hire you, because at the national service, they don't hire you. Yawa, you dey go house.
7 years with that.
So I remember there were people in my office who were like working hard, trying to be noticed by the boss, And then on the final day, there was like a national service meeting with all the personnel at the, conference room. And then my boss came into the room. Everybody was like panicking, like hoping they would be picked. And then he walked into the room and was like, "Anna Jamina, as for you, you have shown us with that 9 months you've been here that you don't want to be here. So I know you don't want to be here." I was like, "Thank you, boss. I still appreciate everything I've learned in this 9 months of my time." I said farewell to all my colleagues. I told you guys will see me on TV. You hear me on the radio. You will not be able to escape me. But here is not where I want to be. But I wish you all the best. And I said my goodbye. I count myself very blessed and lucky that the 1 year that my family gave me was the first year that I got, "Say you love me. Baby, say you love me. I'll go hold you down." And it didn't end there. After that came, "See me, I no get 30 billion. I count myself immensely blessed because those were the two songs that's lit my path. And now when I go back home, you understand the conversation is different. The conversation is very different.
I get it. Yeah.
Okay, we understand. You want to sing. Okay, go and sing. I count myself highly blessed and highly favored. It adds to a number of things in my life that I've gone through straight from my childhood to my development, to my preschool, to my junior high school, to my high school, to my uni, to my national service. Nana Jamina will always find a way.
At what point were you able to even buy a first car?
After Hitmaker. Because I was lucky. Part of the winning prize of winning is that,
Take the car.
There wasn't a car prize. There was like a cash prize where you get to record label, and then part of that money is that they get you like a, nice car to start life, So I was very, I count myself, like I say, I'm one of those people, yes, I'm human, so I'll feel certain things. But if you bury me, I'm telling you, I will germinate. Like, I will find a way.
You might end up becoming an oak tree.
Oak tree.
Charlie.
I'm always grateful to life, grateful for the people.
Yeah.
My family, my brothers, my sister, my friends. They are always the voices in my ear that I need.
There's a man I respect a lot. And he met you in London with some of your colleagues.
Now I'm curious who this person is.
Well, he's a musician. Right? He met you with one of your colleagues in London. And when he met you, and I think that was the first time he was interacting with all of you, he made his conclusion very quickly. Which personality he preferred the most. And, he told me about it. We were having conversations about it. And that conversation has almost never stopped. Right? It's almost never stopped as the type of what he saw in you, the type of personality you had.
When was this?
Oh, this was, I think it was around Party in the Park, one of those, like a while back. And it's interesting, the things he saw. I've sat opposite you today, and I think he was right. You know, about some of the traits and the conversation we had many years ago.
You are keeping me in suspense. You are keeping me in suspense. Please.
I mean, after this conversation, I'll tell you. Because he's very good at, character judging and those things. Yeah, but I also want to find out, like, how is it, trying to raise a kid as well as, trying to build your music career and all of that? How is that?
I'll tell you for a fact, there is no rule book on how to do this. There's no, like, hey, because I've done this and this is how it went, you should do it the same.
Yeah.
I'm learning as it goes. I told you earlier in the conversation, I never stop learning. I admit to some of the mistakes I make. And there's certain things I see happening in real life with my kid, and I have to quickly, like, recognize what's happening and how to deal with it because there's nobody who has prepped you for that situation.
Yeah, so you remember when you were a kid, when you were saying that you never used to fit in. Now, today, when your son comes home and says that there's a bunch of boys in the class and he's not really getting along with them well, how does it make you feel and what sort of advice do you give him?
Unfortunately, he fits in.
Okay.
If you've seen him, he has a personality to fit in everywhere. Like, he has a personality. Like, he has friends, and I'm happy. Like, I'm happy because I didn't have that.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that he's, he has this class, AI class that he went to. He did a presentation with his friends, and I saw the videos. I wasn't in Ghana then, but his mom sent me the videos. Every time I see anything that he's doing, I'm filled with immense pride because it's reminding me of what I didn't have and how blessed he is to have all of this. And I want to make sure he has a lot of the things that I didn't have.
Amazing. So there are a few, rapid fire questions. So it goes, rich or respected. Which one do you want? You choose one.
Rich. Do you want me to explain?
Yeah, explain. It's interesting.
Respect is very important. As a man, it's one of the things that it's one of our fuels. Men, we love to be respected.
Yeah.
But I've also come to learn the hard way that no matter what you do to be respected, it's up to the respecter to decide if they want to respect you. You have zero control over who respects you. People will decide on their own based on their trauma, based on their projection of life, based on their outlook of life. You got to respect what you're doing. I believe something in this world. Of the people that have done the work on themselves, have a positive mind towards life.
Right.
When they see you doing what deserves respect, you don't have to demand it.
They give it to you. They recognize that.
The people that no matter what you do in this life, they will never respect you. You can never do anything. You can never change it. So give me the riches. As for your respect, my deeds will
earn it.
Yeah. I need the money. Give me the money.
So the first time you went to the UK, was that the time you met your son, you mentioned? Yeah. Well, now you're going back to the UK again. 24th September for a show, which I really want to be there. I'm going to the UK I'm going to the UK for a few weeks. I come back and then I join you there. I want to experience it as well. Now, what are your fans supposed to expect from that?
When I said UK was the first place I ever performed outside of Ghana, it was the place that accepted me outside of my home. I will never forget that. That memory of that show, I will never forget it because I never thought it was possible to be booked outside your country when you only had 2 songs.
I see.
I never thought it was a thing. At that time, all I had was Say You Love Me and Odo. So when my team told me, hey, you're going to perform in Ghana Independence UK O2 Indigo, I was like, O2 Indigo? What am I going to perform? Because I only have 2 songs. And they were like, no, they want you. We got there. It was me, Kwame, Eugene, and Kim Promise, the 3 of us. And when we got there, before we even got there was, flight issues. We had to take a transit in another country, and we got stuck in a country because there was no flight. And the time we were supposed to arrive in the UK, we couldn't. So we arrived in UK the night of the show, not the morning of the show, the night of the show.
So no preparation.
No sound check.
No PR work.
We left the airport straight to the apartment to change and go to the venue to perform. And the crowd, the love, I felt the love. Having only 2 songs. I performed Say You Love Me. And when it got to the middle, I told DJ Varosky, let's start again.
Rewind.
And let's start again. So we performed Say You Love Me like 3 times. Although, when they were singing, let's start again. So by the time I left, I performed 6 songs. But I only had 2 songs. And the crowd stuck with me. They showed me love, genuine love. I will never forget that. Going back to the UK, 24th September at the Alternate, it's just a representation of the growth of KiDi, the coming of age of KiDi, the first place that showed me love outside of my home country. It's such a monumental show for me.
Yeah.
And anybody that comes to that show is going to experience, I don't have the words to explain it, but you're going to experience the growth of KiDi. You're going to wonder if this is the same KiDi you experienced my first time in UK, because the growth has been exponential. The music, the performance, the sound, the arrangement, the stagecraft, the showmanship, the confidence.
Well, hopefully I buy my ticket and then I'm there.
I beg you,
So
you don't get choice. I'm telling you today, I'm putting you on the spot.
I'm going to leave the details in the description as well. So I've got this one as well. Fame or privacy? And I want you to reflect on everything that's happened and choose which one you prefer.
It's a tough one. Because I love what fame brings. But at the core of me, I love privacy too. But I understand that 2 of them cannot mix. And it means whatever side I choose, I need to be ready to deal with whatever it comes with.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to go back to where I was. So, fame.
Fame it is. You know, young boy, growing up nicely. This is a tough one. Marriage or focus on career?
I've always dreamt of the unit of family. Having a home with people that you're starting life with. Your mom, your cousins, your aunties, they were part of your upbringing. But as a man, you get to a point where you start your own upbringing, where you also, your father started somewhere and trained you, and your mom and your siblings, they formed a unit, and it was beautiful. And when you came back from school, you had your siblings at home, your mom would cook, Sundays you guys would go to church together. That unit, it's a vision I have.
Yeah.
I just don't think now I'm ready for it now, because I recognize what comes with it. A lot of people in my generation have rushed into it because of what society says you need to do at this age. Men, women alike. At this age, you need to be settled. At this age, you need to have a family at this age, because society says when you grow up to a certain, this is what comes at this age. I told you I have a mind of my own. I want that, but I'm strong enough to recognize that the timing of everything is very important. And at this point, I feel like I'm not ready for it. But it's something that I want, that I will eventually get to.
Right.
I want that badly. I want the family unit that I never had growing up. I want to have that.
Man, you took that out of my mouth. Thought you were going to say that. And then you just said it. Because sometimes I think that's what happens. You know, people don't have it and then they want to give that to their kids.
Some people too don't have it. And because they don't have it, they never know what it's like and never want it. But there's a lot of, in spite of everything that my upbringing gave me, there's so many things I've had to unlearn and relearn. And that is one of them. The beauty of a unit.
Yeah.
The beauty of an army. And the army being your wife who stands beside you, your kids who look up to you and take after you and take your legacy to the next level. And I absolutely want that eventually.
KiDi, thank you so much for coming on Connected Minds. I've been waiting for this conversation for a very long time. That's why I think my viewers will know that the runtime is long today because I want to bring everything out of you.
I know.
But thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having
And if you listen to this podcast, you did it for the other events that we spoke on here. Let's all go to KiDi's event in London. My Londoners will do it for me. I'm going to be there. I'm going to have to and be in London. But thank you so much, my viewers and my listeners. If you made it to the end, I'd love to know in the comments. I'm out.